Hello and welcome. I am Matt Roddy, and this is the Greater Prescott podcast, where we talk about, you guessed it, all things Greater Prescott. Today, I want to welcome Ian Russell from the Ian Russell Fine Art Gallery.
Gallery of Fine Art is
Gallery
okay.
of Fine
if
Art.
you want to call it fine art, we got
Almost
pretty
had
darn,
it.
You're
Almost
right on
had
my.
it. Ian, thanks for your time.
Hey Matt, thank you so much for this. It's a pleasure to meet you and to have you in the gallery, and I'm ready.
Good. When I moved here 2.5 years ago, I started making a list of things in like kind of subcultures in Prescott. Mm-hmm. Art is absolutely one of those things. For example, so like mountain biking is one of them, off-roading, the recovery community, kind of these are just things that our community has. So I've started becoming more interested in art, not just because of that, but it is a big part of our
huge
city. So I'm excited, and I've shared this with you before the podcast. I love unique things.
Thank you.
This gallery, your gallery, takes the punch in that respect.
I definitely run the gambit on different mediums and subject matters, and the philosophy of my gallery is completely different than most galleries. And interestingly, over the years, I've seen galleries kind of start emulating me with the respect of I think I have a little something for everyone in here.
Yeah.
And that's what's really special and cool about Prescott is, even when I moved here as a kid, it was super artsy, but there was at that time, it was still a little, good old boy in very, very, very small town. This is in 1985.
Okay.
And basically, when I landed here, there were no galleries. There was a little tiny art store called Cobweb Hall up on White Spar Road. That's now the secondhand man, that area up there. And that's where I bought all my art stuff. And they had like a little gallery in there. And then there were scholarship competitions down at Prescott Fine Arts.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I got my start. But in that time, in the few years when I was in high school, I met world-class artists at some of the weirdest places that,
in town.
Oh, yeah. I mean, George Molnar, the Phippins were still around at that time. I mean, huge people that are still really kind of iconic people in this town. George Molnar lives here, Bonnie Casey. There was a woman named Rosemary Mack that was very famous, a very famous bronze artist that lived down in Skull Valley. It'll take me a minute. Cynthia Rigdon. And then, of course, John Scourgia, who I worked for years, is world famous for his frogs and for his foundry things. So there was all this stuff here that you didn't realize was here. Yeah. And then about 90, it really started blossoming.
Okay.
And the first galleries came along, and then I opened my first gallery in 95.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, it's a great town and an incredible community of artists. And
I don't know if you'll know why that is as we kind of get into this conversation, but I find that this is a melting pot of clearly really world-class, super good artists. That seems weird.
You know what? It's when you look at where artists always have sprung up, typically, you think of the Santa Fe's and the Scottsdales and the Jackson Holes and Park City.
Maybe Sedona a little?
Sure. Well, Sedona was an art mecca back in the 80s and 90s. And then, unfortunately, a lot of that changed and turned more tourist-oriented.
Gotcha.
There's still some great galleries over there. But when I was really being inspired by galleries, it was the late 80s through the mid-90s. And those galleries back in those days were really top notch. You had Elaine Horowitz and Susan Browns and Leslie Levy. There was just all these really huge gallery names that were down in Scottsdale and in Sedona. They had dual galleries, and they featured, really top-notch world-class artists that were very high-dollar people. And, and some of those artists I admired and emulated, the things that I appreciated in their work in finding people that are in my gallery and even in my own art. So, but yeah, it's amazing how many people live up in this area that you don't realize are even here. I mean, that goes for everything. Authors, musicians. I mean, there's a ton of people that don't tell you, hey, I live here. Right. And you find it out later. And or somebody pops in the gallery. That's one of my favorite ways to find somebody. And in fact, in the gallery, one of my favorite people in here is a guy named Paul Klain, who is a Cali boy like me.
Okay.
Moved out here with his wife, and about 5 years ago just came in and showed me a couple of sculptures he had done on his phone that he made out of bicycle parts. And I said, these are the most phenomenal things.
Those are my favorite pieces in here, because I'm a huge car guy, bike guy, motorcycle. Like I love them.
Yeah, well, you got
as unique as they can get.
In May, he'll be doing a show with us, and you'll have to come in and meet him because he's somebody you should interview. Yeah. He's hilarious and probably one of the more talented guys and creative guys in here. It's amazing to take inanimate junk and weld it together and make it look like something, in my opinion. So
I think you hit on something that I really, really like about Prescott, is that people typically don't just come out and say, hey, I'm this great artist. It's almost like you have to go find them. We just don't have a very flashy city. And I'm not a flashy guy.
Yeah.
I just happen to be on camera a lot, but I'm not flashy. But I like that about our town.
I do too.
It's a pretty humble.
Oh, it's a very humble place.
And that's just, it's more of my blood, I would say.
Sure. We've got a very strong connection, between all of the shop owners and the artist, and you're still living in a small town, so people know what's going on, and I think that also keeps you in check. You know what I mean?
It sure helps.
Get a big attitude or ego over things, and that's kind of my whole deal here. Is I don't need the flash to sell the art. The art sells itself. I'm just the catalyst, and we have a lot of fun with
on that note. Everyone who I've asked to be on my podcast, no one has ever said, in a sense, like I'm too good to do it. It's always just been they don't really understand how it works.
I was going to be the first one, but I said I'm going to throw this guy a bone and just come out of the woodwork. You're welcome, especially on a snowy day like today.
What's the date today? It's Monday, January 28th.
No.
Yeah. Or something like
that.
that.
No, it's not the 28th. We're at the 24th.
What do we got? Kim, you can say
25th. Okay.
It is.
It's a Monday. I know that.
Okay, me too. We got that.
But it is snowing like crazy outside.
Snowing like crazy.
And it's supposed to snow for a couple more days. So we braved a blizzard to come down here and do this podcast.
Yeah.
Which is
/ I'm an idiot for driving in this weather.
Hey, you know what? I'm right with you, my friend.
Kim is too.
Yeah.
We don't want to leave Kim out.
We've got the off-camera queen over here.
So thanks for the kind of the minor introduction. Now let's back up.
Okay.
Number one, I want to learn, and the people want to know, where were you born and raised, as this will start to set the context of kind of how all of what people will experience in here, how it all comes together, and I want to get this story out. So,
all right,
where were you born and raised?
I'm going to give you the shortened version and quicker, but I am a California refugee, but a long time before everybody else started following me. So I came here in 1985. I was born in the Bay Area in Santa Cruz, and basically lived all over the Bay Area as a kid until I was 15. And then I was kind of raised by my grandparents. It's a unique story. My mom is a great person, but we definitely clashed heads a lot as a kid. I was very, very... they probably would have stuck me on Ritalin and everything. I'm sure I was a very hyper child, but at the same point, I was like controlled hyper. I just needed something to do, and my mind really was very active. So luckily, my grandmother was kind of my savior. She got me.
Good job, Grandma.
Yeah, into painting, into art. And I was always, literally, there's photos of me since I was a kid doing watercolors and painting and building stuff. So I think I was always geared that way mentally. I was never a good employee as far as like working for people or, things of that nature. So in the long run, I was always scheming and planning to do things. And how do I make money to do this or go to this dance or whatever as a kid,
I love it.
And I took up guitar when I was 12. I was going to be the next Eddie Van Halen. But, living with my grandparents, it was kind of like at 8 o'clock at night, they open the door and say, hey, Van Halen, it's time to turn the guitar off. And that's when the paintbrushes came out. Okay. And so in a long-about way, born and raised in the Bay Area, came here in 85, got very luckily into the art scene almost immediately. I had a great, this old hippie teacher was my sophomore high school art teacher here at Prescott High, this guy named Mr. Percy. And I used to do a lot of drawings of artists' works that I love. Like, do you know who Frank Frazetta is?
No.
If you want to look up the god of fantasy art, Frank Frazetta wrote the book. So I loved his work in the 80s, and that's what I did a lot of pencil reproductions of his work.
Yep.
And just kind of honed my skills.
Right.
And I showed him to my high school art teacher, and he said, these are phenomenal. I'm going to enter these in this little local art show. And it was the Prescott Fine Arts Scholastic Scholarship Program.
All right.
And I ended up winning like third place the very first time I put my stuff in, and I was addicted at that point. So then that's what really got my art rolling. The next year, my junior year, was the art teacher that was really up there for over 20 plus years, which was Mike Murphy. Wonderful guy. And Murph was my art teacher my junior and senior year. Still did those competitions, ended up winning first place for, I think, 4 years after that.
Yeah.
And they even made...
No one was counting, though, of course.
Well, the only reason I'm counting is because they booted me out after the fourth year and said, you can't do this anymore because you keep winning. And I was like, well, all right, whatever. So after that, I became a judge for it. And
good.
It was really, really cool. But
no, that's awesome.
That's kind of how my art career, I guess, started. I started selling art when I was 15 in high school.
Wow.
And then I got into, the Frame and I around the corner here.
Oh, yeah.
That little place I worked in for a very short time when I was in high school, and to trade out work, instead of getting paid, they'd frame my art and put it up on the walls.
Yeah.
So they were selling my art when I was 15.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was kind of a weird thing how the scales tipped from the music to the art. You know? So, but
I think it's pretty simple to point out, though, that you have a specific type of brain, and it's a very creative brain that comes out in things like music and art.
Totally.
And I told you before we started, I have 4 kids. My 6-year-old daughter, she's much like you.
Yeah.
Whereas my son, my oldest, is just that engineer brain. Like he's not going to be an artist. He can draw and he can learn those things, but Lizzie, it's unique how
it picks you in a weird way. Yeah. I don't know how. I was thinking about it. How do people become artists? Probably a lot of either time to yourself or trauma. One of the two. I think I had a bit of both of mine in my life. And but for me, when even on the drive over here, I was thinking about, as a kid, I used to draw things to make people laugh. That was one of my favorite things, like things usually about my family that I would give to my brother or to my mom, and they would think it was hysterical. And so I think that's why my art also looks this way. Like, I did things to make not only myself happy, but other people, which is kind of fun. Yeah. So definitely a different course. Like, I'm totally not the math guy as far as like an engineer, but I have a lot of business sense because of being raised in different
a little bit of an
businesses.
Entrepreneurial brain as well.
It's a weird one, there's most artists are not either or both. They're
usually not both.
They're not business people usually. Which it's taken a long time.
Therein
to
lies
get
one
to.
of the challenges probably that most artists have, is figuring out how they turn their work into a business.
It is.
Which is a conversation for a whole nother day, but one that I'm really passionate about. How do creatives, artists, whatever you do, how do you monetize it?
Right. Well, and that shouldn't be your number one goal when you're doing it. I did art for myself.
Agree.
And I always hoped that people liked it. And I'm pretty selfish that way. Like, I don't do a lot of commissions because I don't really want to do other things for people. Like, I paint for myself, which again, sounds very selfish, but if I don't do me, it just doesn't look like
the creativity is completely different when when someone has commissioned you versus what is just kind of coming from the heart.
Yeah, if somebody comes in and says, I want you to do a bunch of cowboys on horseback, it's not going to look that great.
Right.
But
there's definitely some artists around here who they'll nail that.
There's a million people that they could go to. And that's what's great about my gallery is if I don't want to do it, I'll push it off on one of my other artists that can. Right. And they're very capable. And every one of my artists that I've given a commission to has really knocked it out of the park. Good. It's pretty incredible to see what these people can do in here. Good. So, but getting into like marketing and selling your art is a completely another topic for a conversation. We could easily do that, and I can, I'm still learning things after all this many years as I've been doing this. And in fact, behind us, one of the best marketers on the planet is David Lozo in this room. Okay. And
he's on the straight back wall.
Yeah, yeah. Now I want to be him when I grow up because
what is it that David does?
Well, he's defined not only a style, but a subject matter that resonates with people, and the way he does it. I mean, it's a Dias de Muertos, which is basically a celebration of the dead, very Hispanic traditional look, but he's taken it and applied it to every subject matter you can think of: samurais and beach scenes and automobile kind of rat rod looking stuff. So it almost traverses a lot of different subject matters, and even people that come in and go, "Oh, I hate skeletons,"
but
I love that piece, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love his hummingbird. Oh, I love, love, trust, and revolver. That's me and my wife, So there's a lot of cool things about being able to figure out a way to touch a lot of people without being completely neurotic like me. More people that are focused on an actual subject matter that paint
makes sense.
Skeletons or paint Navajo kids or whatever, like George Molnar. Those kind of people are known for one particular thing. I would go bananas if all I did was draw people or landscape or fantasy. That's why I'm like it's like juggling dice with me and rolling it on the table. What am I doing this week? I don't even know. Maybe it'll be an animal, And that's what keeps it fresh and fun for me.
100%.
But I admire the people that can do what he does because it's tried and true. You know what I mean? He's hit a huge international level with his work.
Wow.
Been signed to Disney, Fender Guitars, El
my
Humidor,
goodness.
Snap-on Tools. I mean, the guy is really incredible.
How did you come across David, or David come across you?
Another one of those weird things. I was actually at an art show down in Scottsdale at the waterfront. And he had a booth set up, and it was kind of weird. Like, I very rarely have these, oh my God moments. And when I came up over this little bridge, his booth was there, and it was like, where have you been all my life?
Yeah.
And I came into his booth, and I just started talking to him, and I said, I have this gallery up in Prescott. And he immediately said, well, I don't do galleries.
Okay.
And I said, well, you're going to do mine. You need to come up here and check it out on your way home. So he had some friends in Jerome, and he popped into the gallery.
Okay.
Loved it. Gave me, I think, 2 originals and maybe like 10 giclées.
Okay.
And by the end of that next week, I had sold almost all the giclées and one of the originals. And I'm like, hey, man, I need more.
Come on.
And it's gone from one wall to his own room now.
Yeah.
And he is by far one of my top 3 selling artists in this gallery. And you can see why. Again, it's so unique.
It's so unique.
People from all ages. If you come in, we'll give you the tour and show you all this kind of stuff. But that's one of those kind of people that it's doing it right. Yeah. And that's one of those things I aspire to do with my art, is guide it into some different veins. I still am so eclectic. I don't really see myself as being a world famous artist one day, but I've had my work go worldwide.
Okay.
So on a certain level, I can say I'm a world known artist, but not to the level of fame like this kind of thing. Okay. So, and that's what's great, is I get to bring those people to the table for others to see and watch people grow into that. I've seen a lot of artists that outgrew my gallery over the years.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I kind of rambled on there.
Yeah. So you at some point you graduate here in Prescott. You told me you went back to San Francisco, and then...
Well, I couldn't wait to get out of this town with pants on fire. I graduated in 88, and I saved money in that next spring in 89. I actually told my grandparents I was just going to go visit my my very first girlfriend, hold hands girlfriend, you know what I mean? Yeah, she was dating another guy, but we stayed friends, and she was always, come on out to San Francisco. So I got off the plane, and I said, hey, listen, I don't have any money, but I can get a job today. If you'll let me crash on your couch or rent a room from you, I want to stay. And she was like, hell yeah. So I said, well, take me to Tower Records. I was working at Hastings here in town as a music manager. And I went to Tower Records, and I pulled the Jedi mind trick on them. And I walked in and said, I'm your transfer from Arizona. And they said, well, what do you mean? I go, well, I'm here for the music manager job. Oh, okay. Well, come in and we didn't know about this. And I said, oh yeah, it was, long before the computer thing. So they weren't, all they did was call my boss back in Prescott and said, hey, does this guy actually work here? Well, anyway, I had a job that day. I started the next day, and I hung out there until the earthquake
hit
in October, and I was out of basically a place to live and work in a minute and a half. So I came back for a temporary stay.
Yep.
And then I started working in the bronze foundries here
No
in town.
kidding.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to music stuff, and I wanted something that was artsy,
Yeah.
but challenging and different. And I had remembered in high school, I actually did a field trip to a bronze foundry, and it was Thumb Butte bronze back in the day. But John Scourgia was a business partner in that, and he had opened his own foundry. So I, again, did the Jedi mind trick, and I called them, and I said, hey, I'm calling about the job. And they said, what do you mean? What job? I go, I heard you're hiring. And they said, we are? And I said, yeah, I think so.
That's
and
what I heard.
well, come on in. We'll interview you. And so I came down there, and John was like, so you want to work here, huh? Let me see your hands. She looked at my hands, and he goes, well, it looks like you actually do hard work.
Right.
And it was the hardest work I've ever done, but it was awesome. Like,
that sounds so neat.
One of my very first things that I was kind of thrown directly into was the big sculpture on the south side of the courthouse. It's called the Cowboy at Rest.
It's got a horse with a
it looks like the horse is standing on the guy.
Yeah.
But that's a Solon Borglum piece, and Borglum is famous for doing Mount Rushmore.
Oh my God.
So, back in 1918 or 22 or whatever, it was somewhere right around, I want to say it's when Arizona became a state. I know that was, I think it was 1914, wasn't it?
18 or 14?
I think it was Valentine's Day.
I'm born and raised
somewhere
here.
in there.
Don't
ask me
nice
to pass
to
an
me.
Arizona history test, but I know it was somewhere back in the teens or early 20s. And anyway, they had commissioned Borglum at the time to do Mount Rushmore, and at the same time he did the Bucky O'Neill.
Wow.
So that came out on a train. They installed that on the new courthouse plaza, and as I believe 100-year centennial type of representation piece, they took that Cowboy at Rest piece, and it was only a maquette, and they blew it up into that monumental size piece. So when I started working at the foundry, it was done in molds, and I was kind of the slave that did a lot of the grunt work. And
that's awesome.
Oh, it was way cool.
I'd love to experience that process.
Oh, well, you know what? We want to go do an actual foundry tour, and I've been wanting to do that for years. So maybe I'll get to do my podcast, and you can watch exactly, or if you ever want to go, maybe we can sneak in together. But yeah, it's an amazing process of how a bronze is done as well. And I was very fortunate to be able to work on that and a couple other monuments around town. And it's just one of those fun things when you're young and full of testosterone to be able to welding and grinding on metal and beating the crap out of big old sheets of bronze and putting it back together. So anyway, that was what I got into doing when I came back from the earthquake. And then I lasted doing that until about 94. And at that point, I was doing really well with my art, and I just basically took a year off and did nothing but paint. And,
all right.
By the end of that year, I was getting a little skinny and thin on the finances, and that's when, when you're your brokest and your dumbest, you open a business. And that's what I did when I was 25 years old, and it was called the Loft Gallery. And that was my jump into getting into the gallery business, which was actually a fluke on... And another story that I can tell you really quick, but in 85 or 95, like I said, was broke. And a girl I went to high school with that was a great artist. I said, let's just find a place we can rent for a month and do a Christmas art show. I know a bunch of people will bring in some art. And we'll just have
get some traffic and see what happens.
Well, she was very, very meticulous, and we had to have a business license, and we had to have this and all this other stuff. And so we actually ended up going into business together. We did this beautiful Christmas art show, and it was a huge hit. And we ended up, making $5,000-6,000 and thought we were rich. You were. We were at that point. And so anyway, boom, off it went. And I moved from this little tiny location that was kind of at the end of Charlotte Hall Museum to Bashford Courts in 1996. And I was up there until 2002, and
under Ian Russell,
under a Loft Gallery of Fine Art. And during those days, I was repping almost the same amount of people, but in about a 1,000 square foot space. I literally had probably, oh man, it was very packed back in those days, but we had great art. And I'm very proud to say I represented a lot of really big names even back in those days. And then I was tired of being stuck inside. And after 9/11 happened, it really killed tourism around here. It was a very weird time. unfamiliar territory for what we're in right now,
Right.
but in a whole different level. But after that, I sold the gallery. I was planning on going back to California.
Okay, let's try it again.
Well, and at the time, when I wasn't making money in the gallery, I started working as a hot carrier for a masonry company in town.
Okay.
And so as a side job, I started doing masonry.
Man,
And
that's the artist life right there.
it's so strange. You go from, being nice and clean and dressed up in a nice gallery atmosphere to looking like you crawled out of a mud hole,
Yeah.
being a mason, putting up stuff.
Kim.
I know, that's
Kim.
me. I thought I had it off. Sorry.
Oh,
Anyway,
not Kim. I'm sorry.
It
Kim.
was me.
Aw, Ian.
Well. So anyway, it was one of those things that I took to really fast, and within 3 years, I had met my then future wife.
Okay.
And opened a masonry business, got married, had a couple kids.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that all kind of ended. About 10 years later, I got divorced. And, of course, I still have the kids.
Yeah.
Which are wonderful. They're 13 and 15 this
Okay.
year, my boys.
Man.
Yeah. And
some oldies.
I like you, I have an artsy one. And I have the engineer computer genius one. And it's definitely fun to see which way your kids kind of go. So,
How long was the masonry business?
I had that from 2004 to 2011. When I moved in here, I kind of hung up the trowel and stopped doing masonry. I mean, I still did it a little on the side here and there for some side jobs, and I love doing it. I love building stuff. That's really, like, if I didn't have art, I would probably be, a regular contractor and build houses and stuff like that, because I love the inner workings of how things are built.
And it fits because it's not just one thing.
Exactly.
There's just so many pieces, and that's how my brain is too. I have a hard time focusing on one thing for the rest of my life. It's
And I don't know how you were raised, but I was always raised to be a jack of all trades.
100%.
If you can't fix or change your
Yeah.
oil in your car, or change a light bulb or something, in your house.
I still change the oil in our cars
That's awesome.
because my dad taught me.
Wow.
And I still can do electrical because just these little things that our kids need to learn how to do.
Absolutely. No,
I'm very similar.
I torture my children a lot, and it's like, guess what we're doing today? We're going to do a flagstone pad in the backyard. And my kids really like it, and we're I'm re-engaged and going to be getting remarried this year.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. In August, to an incredible woman, and we are going to be building a big house. And so I told my kids, get ready. You've got a good year straight of doing lots of things with Dad.
Yeah.
So they'll get their feet wet in many
They'll
different
love
ways.
it. They'll look back and go, I hated it, but Dad, I loved it.
How cool you get to build a house with your dad.
Oh man,
I've got a lot of friends that got to do that, so I think it's kind of neat.
So 2011, you came full time here.
This was another aspect of how I got back into art. So when I was still married in 2000, I really quit doing art 100% between 2002 and about 2005 or 6.
Okay.
It left such a bad taste in my mouth, the other gallery experience. And to be honest, I was just tired of doing stuff that I felt like I was banging my head against the wall. And with masonry, I was making real money for the first time, had my weekends off.
Yep.
So
it's a lifestyle.
it is. And my ex and I, we would go and hike and go just adventure. And
totally different life.
Yeah. So it was nice to have a 9 to 5.
Yep.
You left work
And you left.
Yeah, you weren't babysitting a bunch of people. I love doing the gallery thing, but you are always chasing after, of course, not only clients, but your artists to produce things for you.
Right.
So you're the ringleader all times, and it's a lot of, you got to have a lot of drive and a lot of discipline to do it, and a lot of focus. And if you want to do it well and be successful at it, it's a full-time job, 24/7. And then throw in kids and your own art and having a relationship, it's a challenge. It's a lot of juggling. Whatever.
Yep.
I do look at it like, some people have 10 times more than I have on their shoulders.
Yes, they do.
And so I feel good to be kind of in that middle rung. It's just enough. You know what I mean? It's not so overwhelming that I curl up in a ball and cry at night.
Good.
Not every night anyway.
Just
I'm just joking.
Yeah. That actually, you brought up something really interesting I've never thought about. Being a gallery owner, all of the hats that you need to wear. Oh my gosh, I never thought about you having to really encourage your artists to produce more art. And,
Sure.
and just, I mean, you're
just
the
imagine-
ringleader. I mean,
Yeah.
and these people, they need the help and the encouragement and things like that.
One of my favorite things to be is a muse to people, because I love, we get all day critiquings from the public.
Yep.
So when they come in and they say, oh, I love this, but oh, I wish he had this, you know, that's the bug I plant in my artist's ears.
Perfect.
And that's a cool thing, because a lot of times there's ideas that I've wanted to execute that I haven't had a chance to for 30 years.
Okay.
And some of those ideas I've actually passed on to some of my artists, and,
Right.
and they've been successful with those ideas. And I love that. I think that's really cool, because it's almost validating what you
Exactly.
in your own self know.
Right.
But yeah, you're definitely, I tend to go a lot more businessman than artist. And then luckily I've got really 3 women in here that are incredible salespeople. And they're, 4, counting Kim, sorry. Kim babysits me a lot. I just look at her. I joke with one of them that, you know, she's my other gallery wife.
Yeah.
Because believe me, I need a lot of babysitting and a lot of reminding,
Of course.
because there's so much stuff going on.
So many moving parts here.
Yeah, and it's a real living, breathing entity, and everybody's a part of this kind of thing. And it's awesome how my employees, or what I like to refer to as my coworkers, have stepped up and taken on roles in the last couple of years, because I'm very fortunate to have really the best sales staff I think I've ever had. And
Awesome. Good job, girls.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be sitting here, at least in this, in the place of life you are, unless you had them.
Absolutely.
So, good.
Huge
What a
help.
blessing.
I mean, it would it doesn't fly with just me. And that's one of the things that I try to convey even to the artists. You know, these guys are what make Ian Russell. You know, I can go off and do my own stuff.
Of course.
So anyway, I squirreled off of the initial thing here, but in 2004 or 5, when I was out of the art gallery business, people would literally find me at my house and come to my house to look for art.
Okay.
And my ex got sick of that, and she's like, you know, you either need to get back into this or quit.
Yeah.
And I said, you're right. I want to just do a gallery of just my own work.
Okay.
So we found a little tiny, I think it was 650 or 750 feet over in the old firehouse building here. And I reopened as Ian Russell Gallery of Fine Art with just my own work. Well, when I sold my gallery in 2002 to my old business partners, they kind of booted out a lot of the people we consigned to the art of. You know, better, you know, a little bit higher in art. They didn't want that. They started buying lower end things and more tchotchke stuff that changed the whole format of the gallery. Well, those artists found me after I reopened in 2007, 2008. Hey, you don't have any bronzes in here. Yeah. Just take my bronzes. They would be just me and you. All right. Well, what about my jewelry?
Third person, fourth person. Yeah.
So boom, I meet a guy here in town that's a really pretty top notch. He at the time was an amateur photographer. A guy named Rich Charpentier. He's a great guy too. And Rich had moved out here from back east, and he was going to go into the printing business and photography business, and we kind of partnered up in the gallery over there and moved into a larger spot. We were there till about 2010, and it was just a very rough location because
old firehouse.
You know, you're around the corner. You might as well be in Chino Valley.
I could not agree more.
Because it's so weird. You know, there's people that come to Prescott, and I never really realized this, even after all the years I was in business in Bashford Courts, how many people just come to Prescott and hit Whiskey Row and then move on to Jerome or Sedona or, back to Phoenix, or they're just doing a quick loop through, on the motorcycle. So, when I moved, I had the opportunity to get in here. It was another crazy time because, it was right after the, 2008 crashed. So those 2 years were rough, man. I mean, really rough. My ex and I were both working 2 jobs. Wow. She was helping in the gallery and working at night. And then I was doing masonry during the day and then working in the gallery on the weekend. And so, I mean, it was burning the candle at both ends. And, you got little kids at all that time. And a lot of stress. And that's what I think really kind of contributed to the unfortunate downfall in my relationship. But when I had the opportunity to move in here, it was taking all your eggs and putting them in one basket and hoping and praying that it was going to work. And my ex thought I was nuts, of course, even to do it. And it was a lot of money to come in here and rebuild this interior. And one of the only things I think was very smart in hindsight doing when I was signing the lease on this place, I said, hey, I'm dumping $50,000 into your building. There's any chance I can buy this place or have an option to,
yes,
I want
please
it.
do.
You know, or if I want to sell my business in the future, I need to regroup this.
Right.
And they were really, really, really good about it and said, oh, you know, well, we don't ever plan to sell, but if we do, you know, we'll let you know. So I moved in here and we opened February 11th of 2011.
Okay.
And we're coming up on
almost
10
on
years.
10.
I
We're
know.
really close.
Literally 2 weeks away from
Yes.
10 years in this place. And
Oh, man.
my first month out of the gate, we did triple what we did around the corner. And then it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. And it's been an incredible 10 years.
Okay.
You know, last year with the crud hitting and all the craziness that's surrounded that, we really thought we were going to be tanking. And the day we opened back up, April 1st, it was like there wasn't a piece of art that couldn't be bought as fast as possible.
Really?
I've never seen so many people, such enthusiasm, we're getting through this. We're, you know, nothing else was open.
Right.
And I think at this time right now, one of the reasons my gallery does so well, on top of the fact that I've got the incredible artists I've got and have so many return customers over 25 years, is that right now people need happiness and
could not agree more.
Want some stuff that
Open the country back
yeah.
up.
Oh man, I can't even believe that it's a discussion at this point.
Agreed.
I won't get into my own philosophy
we don't need to.
and things of that nature, but we need to move past all this and get going back the right direction. And hopefully that happens soon.
But I'm glad you're doing it.
You know, I'm a very stubborn guy, and I'm definitely one of those kind of people that does not live on my knees. Okay. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm very much into. I've got a lot of responsibility to all these, to every
ton.
To every
That's another
person
hat that I would not
Sure.
have kind of thought from.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm responsible for some of these people eating each month. You know,
Could not agree more.
So to me, I couldn't sit back unless the way they made it seem like there was going to be piles of dead people in the road, you know? And when you find out what's really going on and you kind of whittle it down, it's like, you know what, everybody can be protected and still go out and do their things.
Yes.
You want to wear a mask, you want,
Yep.
the protection you need to, do what you need to do.
I agree.
Doors are open here. You can come in here all day.
And they did.
You bet. You can raw dog all the fresh air you want in this gallery. We don't do that kind of thing here. So anyway.
Yeah.
But it's incredible times, and I see a lot of great things, a lot of interesting takes on what's going on in art. You know, I've had artists do some coronavirus pieces, and
I think those will one day be a novelty almost. That kind of like so. When I was growing up, you know, I wanted a Fox body Mustang.
Yeah.
Well, so of course I couldn't afford one, but now 20 years later, those cars are now coming up in value because people like me now have the money to get it.
Sure.
So I know we're going to see this cycle of like, oh, back in the day.
Right.
And things that's
right.
so much how
it's a
lot of this stuff works, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Art is a timestamp on history. You know what I mean? If you look at contemporary art, it's amazing how you can follow it all through the ages, and it all, is inspired by that time. And it's cool, to be a part of that. We're really living history.
Agreed.
And this is such a weird time period in our history that I feel very lucky, even though it's strange, that we get to live in it, because it's a challenge, and it's really, everybody needs to rise to the challenge.
That's the key. That's the key. And,
getting through it.
And I can tell you have done it and will continue to do it. And this is you, and any other business owner who does that will thrive right now.
Absolutely. And I feel sorry for the people that have been selectively, I don't know how you would say it nicely, but kind of screwed over.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
bars
agree.
and restaurants, in my opinion, that's
just awful.
The worst thing.
Just awful.
I've seen a lot of my friends go through hell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's sad.
So, anyway.
Okay.
9:20.
Okay. Give me a 60-second
Okay.
clip that and you'll be just looking right into the camera.
Okay.
Give that 60-second pitch for the gallery. That way I have
Sure.
a nice, clean, concise, and then we'll jump into some of the artists. And
Well, I love greeting people, kind of like old friends. In this gallery, we represent 40 of the finest in-state, local, and nationally known artists that I really ever seen. We've got incredible pricing. People that think we have like this massive high dollar thing going on in here. You can buy art in my gallery from $6 up. So there's something in here for everybody. If you haven't been in this gallery, you need to come in and see me. We'll give you a piggyback ride around and tell you about all the artists. Yeah. I love nothing more than educating people about art, having kids come in and see art.
Yeah.
We let dogs in. We want everybody to come in and experience this place because to me it is an experience. And I travel a lot. I've looked around. I go to every gallery I can, any place I go.
Good.
And there is no place like this. It's really kind of
awesome.
A Disneyland of art in here, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
that is a good way to put it.
and it's fun. And I want it to be a good experience for people. I think, again, my staff is incredible. We have an in-house jeweler, Jeffrey Brown. That's really one of the best jewelers in the country. And he's got the most unique, beautiful style that I've ever seen. This is a ring he made me.
Okay.
And then we have our amazing in-house photographer and queen of everything marketing. I'm telling you, she's been a wonderful friend and done an incredible job. So that would be
Thank you, Kim.
photography by Kimberly Marsh. So I'm very lucky to have all these people around me, and I think that would be the quickie 60-second segment.
Talk about some of the artists. I know it's hard to pick out of 40, but just if you were maybe do a couple different mediums that you have.
Well, again, as eclectic as I said this gallery is, I have everything you can imagine in here. Photography, painting, sculpture, glasswork, jewelry, functional pottery, knives. We've got some incredibly hand-forged knives
awesome.
from Pakistani blacksmiths that are all Damascus. We've got probably the best gallery for steampunk and surrealism that I've ever seen. And these are, more entry and mid-level artists that are so far out of their league that most galleries wouldn't show a lot of this stuff. So that's why I like what I've got in here, because it's so different. And even if you're freaked out, like for instance Brian Tubbs. Brian's one of my top selling sculptors in here, and he does a lot of people interpret it as very dark fantasy, but it's contemporary realism, and it's got a very unique kind of flair and metaphor behind the work. So you almost have to look at things a couple of times to really see what some of the artists are conveying in here, because
that's what I love about this gallery.
Yeah.
You literally have to do a triple, quadruple take, and then you still have to stop and check it out.
We have people that'll spend, hour or 2 hours in here that normally don't come into galleries or even like galleries. I hear it all the time, especially men. Guys are not the most attention span long guy, people, and we will have people come in here and just be like, I just can't believe all this is in here.
That was me.
So,
that is me.
Well, I sure appreciate that, Matt.
It.
And that would be really my main pitch. The art speaks for itself. You walk in the door, you'll definitely find some things that you really like and enjoy.
Yes. I don't know how old I was when I started really, I would say, appreciating art. I think I'm 38 now. I'm kind of thinking around 25, and just kind of little by little, I've got this bug where I'm going, I want to start collecting art. Because it expresses so many different things.
Sure.
When you walk in here and you can walk out with 10 pieces that have nothing to do with each other, that are completely different, but each so unique and artistic and creative. Yeah. I love it.
Well, and you can walk out of here with substantial things at a decent price. And I mean, I've literally watched some of these artists' works elevate from, couple $100 to thousands of dollars over the time. So it's always nice to know you get something from somebody that, you know, in the future may be worth a little bit more. You know, I always tell people,
story.
Yeah, I always tell people buy art because you like it.
Correct.
You know, if you're looking to get into high dollar collecting, right? This is a great ground level place to start because you can get bronzes for, you know, $100. I love bronze, as we were talking about.
These people, in a sense, they are going up.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of stuff that never goes down. You know, the jewelry, the bronze. There's some really wonderful investments, as well as just having fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is it? How would you describe your work? Which this wall, more or less, is you?
Well, people in fantasy are what I'm most known for. I've always kind of, I mean, the people I was influenced by were Rockwell and Dolly and Frazetta and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of almost like I've always referred to my art as Ianism. It's realistic, but it still looks not real. Okay. You know, my canyon works, I've always tried to paint very virtual pieces of places I go hiking and camping in. But when you get into doing fun stuff like the cats and
Jimmy, I told you I work for Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy's got one of these in his office.
Jimmy's got the original of Miss Kitty. And I just, I like doing fun stuff. So I don't really try to become a realist, but I don't paint like anybody. I've got a weird style. I'm not going to lie. So, and I think that's just come with me doing it. It looks like me. It's kind of like somebody who's a musician. You could give Eddie Van Halen any guitar, but he still sounds like Eddie Van Halen. Correct. You can give me any paintbrushes and medium, and it's still going to look like Ian Russell. You know what I mean? So I just paint weird, in my opinion. I don't have a like a painterly style, but I don't have an impressionism style, and I don't have a super realism style. So anyway, I don't know how to describe it as.
Is a important thing, especially I mean, in our day and age when so much is just really blah and sterile and like weird is what gets people. They walk in here and they go, oh, this is kind of weird. Oh yeah, and they're just drawn to it for different reasons.
Well, on the front wall, Sean Ray Harris, the guy that does all the photos up front.
The little glass or kind
of they're the ones of him in like all the Star Wars outfits and the different things. Have you seen his work yet?
I remember the Star Wars stuff.
But somebody like that, you know, you start telling the story about how that guy got into his art, and he's one of my favorite artists in here. The guy's got over 150 different masks and probably 1,000 outfits, and he dresses up in all of those. Photographs himself and then digitizes himself into the work. Yeah. So he's one of the best digital editors. But I mean, they're surrealist. They're almost very dreamlike. It's really crazy. Yeah. To see all this kind of stuff. So. Different strokes for different folks,
exactly. And I think that's why people will be fascinated with your gallery, because they're going to find something that they not only really like, but something that they're like, that is really weird, but I still kind of like it. Yeah, totally. I didn't even know someone could do something like that.
Oh, yeah. We hear it all day long. Yeah. That's the best part about it, is telling people and seeing the look on their face when they go, what? Yes. You're kidding me. Yeah. Oh, man, that's amazing. You know, sculpture like this behind us over here. You know, there's so many things that you have to actually physically see. And
you do.
And you can go to my website. Can I plug myself real quick?
Please. Actually, let's save that till the end.
Till the end? Okay.
Yeah. I'll have plenty, and I will put all the information in the description and everything.
You're the best.
What is it? Let's segue. What is it about Greater Prescott that keeps you here?
Well, I proudly kind of consider myself a fixture of Prescott at this point. You know, like maybe the narcissism in me at this point feels like I'm putting a big stamp on this town with this gallery. Yeah. And, you know, I'm lucky enough
to have been... It's not narcissistic at all. It's not.
Thanks. Well, you know, people might say it was. But when I was able to buy the building, that changed my life. And that made me really look far down the road. Right. And to be honest, where else are you going to go? This is the best place. I mean, seriously. Yeah. I've traveled everywhere. I don't.
You travel a lot.
In the U.S., I haven't gone back east, and I wouldn't want to live back east just because of the weather. Right. I'm not a humidity guy, and I'm definitely not a balls deep snow guy. Yeah. You know, and so to me, I had spent a lot of time in Chicago, off and on, over the years, but. It just never really resonated with me. So the Southwest is naturally where I would be. Okay. And the fact that I've been here 35 years, I can't really see myself going anywhere else. I will always keep this my hub. Okay. And if I was ever rich enough to be able to have another place somewhere else, it might be a little secondary home in Santa Fe that I could do a little gallery or something in. But, I'm pretty content. I really love this town. I love the people in this town. My kids have grown up, so
yeah, it's a lot.
I get to meet awesome people like you all the time.
Just what you said is what almost every other guest says. Like, it's just, where else would I go?
Right. You got all the I'm just blown away by the cool things that are here all the time. Plus, I love mountain biking and hiking and doing the outdoor stuff. I'm an avid mountain biker. So,
boom.
That's
there you go.
Where else would you go to have that kind of experience?
Yeah.
It's right in your backyard.
It is
all day and free at that. You know what I mean?
Free. I did a podcast with Soul Ride with the ladies over there.
Nice.
Again, mountain biking. Yeah,
she's great.
Kate, that's part of our culture.
Oh yeah,
a huge one.
That's a cool little shop she's got over there.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
I think most of the business owners here are. They're just really down to earth.
I just love the idea of being able to go and look at mountain bikes and have beer.
Yes.
How cool is that?
And a Friday night movie in the summertime. They got a nice little spot.
Very awesome.
Okay.
So what's
we'll go into the rapid fire question section.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 7 questions. If you have more than one answer, just give it.
Let's do it.
First question, what's your favorite thing about Greater Prescott?
I would say just the collective unity of everybody here. Everybody loves this place and wants to be here. So I mean, that's one of the things I think is very infectious about the town, and the quaintness. How cool is the courthouse and just the history. I mean, I could ramble on.
I know.
It's like 50,
that's why I said you can say
things.
more than one.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's really the people.
What's your favorite restaurant in Greater Prescott?
Oh man, anybody that knows me knows El Gato Azul is my digs.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is the number one answer.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I could name 50.
Of course.
One of my other friends, John Ponza with Biga, and had John's Chop House.
Love John.
Man, John and Cassie are just incredible people. And then, you got farm provisions down here. I mean, everything. Even
I know.
I just found the Hungry Badgers truck. That's killer food. I wish they'd open a little place right next door. Grumpy Sicilian, my buddy Sal, makes some of the best pizza in town, and it's hysterical. He lives up to the name Grumpy Sicilian.
Okay,
it's hysterical. You go in there, he's
perfect.
Like, "Hey, what do you want?"
We lived in South Scottsdale before we moved here, and Scottsdale just has restaurants galore, and we were really sad that we were going to leave that.
Right.
But we have found that we have so many awesome restaurants. I think that's one of the things I'm just blown away with.
Yeah. No, we've got some incredible cuisine and
and the people that own them are awesome.
Yeah,
you
totally.
named them. What's the number one thing on your Greater Prescott bucket list?
Oh, I've always toyed with opening another business, another gallery. But to be honest, I think, my goals are at this point, building that house. That, that's probably my big bucket list thing that I've always wanted to do.
Great.
And it's going to take shape here pretty quick. So a little of that bucket list is going to be going away. I've lived here so long. I've really done a lot. I've lived, most of my teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s. Yeah. I just turned 50. So I've done a lot in this town.
Good.
And I feel very good about everything, So
what's your favorite all-time favorite piece of art?
Of my own or somebody else's?
Let's go someone else's. That way you don't seem so narcissistic.
Well, again, you snooze, you lose kind of thing in life. I worked on a bronze that I was supposed to have owned, and unfortunately, the circumstances around it, I was too poor to be able to afford it. It was a life-size bronze by an artist named John Soderbergh called Pariah, and it's an angel weeping, and like all the souls kind of crawling up the stack toward heaven, and it's a very moving, intense piece of art, and it's really like neoclassical Michelangelo looking stuff, and that's one of my favorite pieces that will always stick in my mind. And if I can never get it back, I'm going to try.
Awesome.
So, but that's one of my favorites. There's been so many in here that I can't even begin to tell you. And I'm really bad about that because I call a lot of things my favorite things.
It's hard not
you know?
to.
So
If people walk in here, they're not going to be able to say what their favorite thing is either.
You know,
There's just too many.
Exactly. Well, and you know what? I can always find a favorite piece from each artist without a hesitation.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
on my own art, though, I would probably say, you know, the bear up there has always been one of my favorites, and one of those kind of paintings I wish I hadn't sold.
Oh.
So, but you have to let go of stuff, you know. You live it, and
You
then
got to
you
eat
gotta move
somehow.
it. Well, that too. That always helps. You know, paying bills and eating.
Yeah. Next question. What are 3 words to describe living in Greater Prescott?
Boy, 3 words to describe living in Greater Prescott. Freaking awesome. I mean, I don't know. It's just, you have to be here for at least, I think, a good 10 years to really, really get the roots in this joint and love it and know where all the places are. And, but I mean, it's phenomenal. Again, I could go off with like 50 words.
Yeah.
So
If you weren't an artist, then what type of work would you be doing?
well, I definitely wouldn't be a mathematician. To be honest, I don't know. I think there was no way I was not cut out to be in art or in music of some sort. So if I wasn't doing art, like I said, I would either be building things or I would still be a musician.
You said it earlier.
Right. So, you know, I still get a chance to do that all. So I'm lucky. I've got a bag of tricks that
That's very helpful.
something were to go down, I can go do a lot of things
Do something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite summer activity in Greater Prescott?
Oh, definitely getting out in the kayaks and going to Watson and jumping on the mountain bike trails. I mean, just there's so many cool things to do around here. I mean, it's infinite. The whole 50-mile loop they've completed, the Great Prescott Trail. They've done an incredible job with.
Yep.
So I just think there's, you know, infinite. Coming down to the courthouse and listening to some music, you know, going and having a beer in the bird cage or up at Jersey Lilies and sitting and looking off the veranda.
Yep.
That kind of stuff is
great.
what makes it
Summertime
so
is just
quaint.
awesome.
Oh yeah, I love spring through fall.
This is true.
Is just gorgeous. Even the winter, I love this.
The winter.
I love that we've got, you know, probably 7 or 8 inches.
It's a blizzard out there. It has not stopped.
No. So you know, that kind of stuff is even fun to experience.
I agree.
So
this is your time to give a pitch to the people. Just what you were going to say
Sure.
earlier. Where are we? How can they contact you? Website, you name it.
Absolutely.
You let them know.
Well, Ian Russell Gallery of Fine Art. We're at 130 South Montezuma Street, Prescott, Arizona, 86301. Our phone number here is 928-445-7009. One of the cool things about the gallery is my fiance just built us an incredible website. The girls have been working literally for a year, photographing stuff, categorizing things, and putting it on this website. So if you go to ianrussellart.com, you can see our brand new website.
Okay.
We also have a Facebook and an Instagram presence. I'm kind of tagging along with what you're doing, and I have my own little YouTube channel for the gallery as well, where I've hacked through some interviews with the artists. So I do have about 10 or 11 interviews of my own on my YouTube channel, and we're going to add this one to the YouTube channel, of course. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to find me. And if you want to see my ugly mug, I'm generally in the gallery Thursday through Sunday, unless I'm out doing a show. Okay. But you can find any one of my 3 amazing coworkers in here. And Kim. 4. Well, she isn't really worth the floor much anymore. She comes to she's an awesome pinch hitter. So, but she's doing her own thing, and she's just killing it. Yeah, you know, she's out doing a lot of headshots for local realtors and marketing campaigns for them. She does all of our marketing campaigns and all of our cards and brochures and any banners, you know, just everything. The posters for the gallery. Kim does a lot for us. Yeah, so awesome. It's I'm very lucky.
Yes, you are. You've also worked really hard.
Yeah,
and you're lucky. It's great. It works well.
You got to do it. You know.
I cannot express how much that you people need to get in here. Going to the website is great, but getting in here it is an experience, like you said, and it's hard. Most people have this sense of an art gallery of just a bunch of stuff on the wall. This does have stuff on the wall and a whole heck of a lot more.
Right.
So
it's an
please
experience.
come check it out. Have a little time.
Yeah.
Pencil in 30 or 60 minutes at minimum. It's just really, really unique.
Yeah.
And I think, and like you said, you travel enough to know there's not much like this.
No. And you know, when you have so many people coming from out of state and out of country, we do ship nationally and worldwide. You know, we'll get it home to you one way or another. But you're right. It's an experience. You need to come in and check it out. Live it, breathe it, touch it. You know, that's what's fun about this
Bring your
place.
dog.
And every month you come in, it's different. You know,
I love that part of it.
You'll never see the same. Well, I mean, you will see the same things because a lot of my artists do reproductions. But yeah,
stuff sells, new stuff goes up.
Absolutely, they're constantly bringing in new things, which is it's like Christmas every week for us.
Yeah.
So
real quick, because Kim, I remember you mentioned what's it called?
Fourth Friday.
Just give a little
absolutely
pitch for that so I can get that up too.
You bet. Yep. So we just had our Fourth Friday Art Walk this last Friday, which was the 22nd, I believe. And each month, one of the coolest events in Prescott is our Fourth Friday Art Walk. And what that is a majority of the galleries around Prescott stay open until 8 o'clock and either have different features on their artist or just have an open house. You know, pre-COVID, here we had music and wine and food and things of that nature. We kind of strip down the food. Every now and then we'll sneak in some wine. We do still have some music starting up in March. We alternate those months. So March, May, July, September, we always have music in here.
Great.
But it's a great event. It's an awesome date night. You can bring out your loved ones or you just come out and putz around and see some cool stuff. So this month on the 26th, I'm going to be doing a actual painting demo in the gallery.
Cool.
So if you want to see me paint live, I don't know what I'm going to paint yet, but I'm going to do something. And we'll be open, you know, from 10 that morning till 8 o'clock that night.
Okay.
So our normal hours are 10 to 5, Monday through Sunday. I mean, we're 7 days a week in here. We only close on major holidays. So
And not even when it snows or
no,
blizzards.
because there's people that need art. We can't cut them off even just because of the snow. You know, it's a very important thing, and it enhances your life. It makes you happy.
It does.
It does.
That's why I want to start collecting art.
Yeah.
I think you just nailed it on the head.
Cool.
Yep.
Well,
Ian,
I'm looking very forward to helping you with your art collection. Maybe we'll even we'll work that up.
I would love to start that here. Thank you for your time.
Hey,
Kim,
thank you.
Thank you as well. You were, you know, I often need someone just to get me in the front door. And you got me through the back door too. So I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
I'll end on this, that Prescott has an amazing art community.
Absolutely.
Ian is one of many galleries that is awesome.
Absolutely.
Get out, check them out, and you're going to find a lot of stuff that you really like.
Well, you know, some of my favorites are Van Gogh's Ear, Arts Prescott right next door to me. Dave Newman used to have a gallery down the way here.
Doors.
And then in St. Michael's Alley, you've got a couple of other really nice fine art galleries. Krieger Markuson, Joe's Gallery. There's just a lot to offer down here. You should come and check out all of them because all of them have great art in there. Every one of them.
Yes.
You know, I've even bought a lot of art from several of the galleries here in town, including, you know, Van Gogh's Ear again. They've got top-notch artists in there. John Lutz is a longtime friend of mine and a really great glass blower. And, you know, several of my artists that I've shown in the past are in that gallery. So go check it all out.
Great place.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Hey,
guys,
thank you.
I'll put up all his information. Come check him out. I just really appreciate your time.
Hey,
it's been a
thank you
blast.
so much, Matt. It was really good meeting you. And I appreciate all your... this talk has been super
Isn't it fun?
You're great.
It's just light and friendly and tangential, and that's the best part.
Well, I hope tons of people are checking out your deal because we're going to plug the heck out of you.
All right, let's end it with a nice big smile.
All
you
right,
guys,
buddy.
thank you very much for watching.
Thank you all.